Welcome to Raw and Refined, the Gentleman's Hour, where we're going to have engaging conversation with middle-aged black men about what's going on. We welcome you to listen, like, comment, and subscribe with the hope that we will encourage others to join us for future conversations. We always like to start off with a toast. And with that toast, it's because we're gentlemen and we like to do it raw and refined.
So we're going to start it off with a toast. I actually have alcohol this time.
I do too.
Going back.
Oh, well, I better go ahead and grab me some then. Sitting here.
Going back.
I can't be over there talking about my sparkling ice lemonade.
Right. In your Yeti.
In your Yeti, right.
I have that off to the side.
Well, one of the best kept secrets, believe it or not, for mezcal, and of course a lot of things, is Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's actually makes a mezcal. So I have a bottle of mezcal, but it's actually not made with the mezcal from Trader Joe's. A good friend of mine who is from Oaxaca and family is from Oaxaca brought some back from Oaxaca, and in order to transport it to me, it's in the Trader Joe's mezcal bottle. But this is homemade mezcal.
Gotcha. Nice.
Wow.
And it is really, really good.
You got some moonshine mezcal.
Basically.
Moonshine mezcal. There you
Mexican
go.
moonshine.
There you
right?
go. There you go.
So I'm going to go ahead and get this started with a sip. And I've got the appropriate drinking instrument. And so here we go.
Outstanding.
All right.
Well,
What you got, JTC?
This time I decided we're going to go with a little Unk and Coke. So for those that know, that's Uncle Nearest right there. So I got a little Unk and Coke. I thought about this conversation we're about to have, and I thought we needed to be a little more sophisticated with this one. So decided we're going to step this game up a little bit this time around.
All righty. Well, you all have inspired me, so I'm coming with something that it's a little different there from what I've enjoyed on the show before, but this one here, I don't know if you can see that.
Huh.
Buzzard's Roost?
Yes.
Buzzard's Roost.
Yes.
Okay.
That's nice.
It is. I like the bottle.
It's
like a mezcal bottle, actually.
It's a straight bourbon whiskey, barrel strength. Yeah. That means it's 115 proof.
Right.
What? 115 proof?
That's why I said barrel strength, brother. That's,
oh my
that's what we're talking about in
wow.
bourbons. That's what, This is not no punk beverage over here.
Taking the paint off your walls, bro.
No, not at all. That's just it. When you're getting into these real good quality bourbons, they don't feel like that. They don't feel like they're 115 proof. They feel like your typical 80 proof beverage. And it's just all kinds of deliciousness that just does happen to have a little bit more
potency.
Sneak up on you a little bit harder, that's all.
A stronger right hook.
Right.
Body blow. Later on and things. Excuse me for a second here.
That's it. Oh, man.
Before we get going here, let's, raise them up there and toast it up there, brothers.
Sure.
This is going to be an interesting conversation. So
I think so. All right. Well, this conversation came about from an article that we all read.
How to Spot a Frenemy and Be a Real Friend.
And it centers around this idea of frenemies versus real friends. And so, of course, we think that we are all real friends here. And so this concept of the frenemy, just an interesting thing to wrestle with. I think all of us at some point in life, in our careers and otherwise, have seen that there's a difference between a real friend and that frenemies actually do exist. And so kind of wanted to frame it that way. I think we also want to say that there's a difference between a real friend and people that are just kind of there and in your circle. But we want to dig into it a little bit more and sort of get our own views and experience around this conversation.
Outstanding. And I guess, again, before we get started, I think Rich had put it up in there that it's a real friendship. You said it already. And the courage to see them clearly. So I like that quote you put up in there, Rich. So salute.
Amen.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Salute.
Salute. So I think the first question, of course, is what is a frenemy? And I think we've sort of kind of come up with this definition. It's a person who's sort of friendly on the surface, but harmful underneath. There's some characteristics that a frenemy has in contrast to friends, right? Real friends are safe and consistent. Frenemies are the opposite of that, are unsafe and are not consistent. And so can you all talk a little bit about some of your own personal feelings around frenemies versus real friends?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start this off. I think so. When we started talking about this topic, this is deep because this is interesting in a way that my approach is how to have the open conversation without potentially letting someone know that I consider them a frenemy that may be listening or seeing our podcast. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
I do.
I have to be a little more deliberate about how I phrase some of my conversation around this to not give too many clues as well. But you know what I'm
And
saying?
this means you. No, I was kidding.
Right, this is you. Right. Right. The first time I would say I really recognized frenemy, I think it was probably present earlier than this, but I'm gonna say med school was when I really kind of first saw that there's a difference between your friend who's really trying to help you develop, grow, learn, become a better physician versus someone who will smile in your face, but yet going behind you and either setting up the project or not quite being open with the study guides and things of that nature that are going on. But again, no malice there at all. Just that's how that setup was. So I'd say that was probably my first true kind of understanding of frenemies.
I think for me, it was observing someone else interact with one of their frenemies who I don't think they knew to be a frenemy. But kind of from the outside looking in, with my perspective being a little different, looking and wondering, why doesn't this person see that? You know, would have been probably my first experience with a frenemy. Was not my own. And I think that for me is probably would be in professional settings more than in personal settings where I encountered it for myself. But my first encounter would have been me observing it happen to someone else. And so then that brought for me was this something that I should even say something about? Is it my place? Is that appropriate?
Interesting. What about you, GK?
Well, it's interesting because you find it's important to make a distinction, another distinction, right? Not just between real friends and frenemies, but frenemies and actual people who you might otherwise call an enemy or someone who despises you or openly works against you, particularly in sort of a work setting. But to me, it was this idea of very gut-based, right? Initially, right? It's just like, you just
Right.
got a feeling something's off about this, right? It's a person who's kind of like really trying in a very superficial way to act like an ally or a friend, but always somehow feels like there's a little dig at you. Like, but most recently, like as an adult, it really was this idea of using sort of that access to me as sort of a friend or someone to sort of help their agenda, right? Like you're being,
Right.
what in my world we call it, you're organizing me to get something that you want, right? You're not really interested in me, or you actually don't really care about the clothes I have on, right? That's your way of trying to gas me up so that you folks think they're going to use that as a way to get you to do what they want them to do. So it's just, again, I think that stuff has existed my entire life, but I wasn't really paying much attention to it. But as I've gotten older, it's definitely something I'm a bit more keen to observing.
I agree with you. It's kind of like, wow, that's a nice pair of shoes you wear, but that's just you. You got it like that as
Right,
well.
right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying? Be like,
right,
what the
right,
hey, right?
right, right,
Okay.
right,
Okay.
right, right.
Like,
Knowing you BSing the whole, you know what I
right.
mean? Like, what?
Mhm.
You could have kept, like, come on.
Right.
By the way,
Right.
they ain't that nice
Right.
either.
Right.
I just happen to have them on. They all right, you know?
Right. Right.
That's it. But
That's
so you
it.
just been keeping them up real good, huh?
That's
So
it. No, that's
So,
hard, but trying to distinguish who they are can be really difficult. If they're really good at how they approach you as well, can be difficult thing to identify. But you're right, GK. I think you still you get this gut reaction about just something not quite right there. They seem friendly, all hey, good and all of that, but you still get that feeling like
yeah, but a
something's just
lot of
not right with
times,
this.
even with that feeling, and that's how they can remain successful at this, is that even with that feeling, you might not always act on that feeling. It becomes one of those things that it bites me later. I thought something, I felt something, but I thought maybe, because sometimes we struggle with admitting or wanting to believe that this person really isn't genuine. And so you could hesitate when you shouldn't, or you could give somebody the benefit of a doubt where it may not be warranted or something like that because of it being subtle in nature, because of that. That's part of the package, right? It's because that's the whole point. The clear enemy, we like them. I've always said I prefer that blatant racist, right? That person that rolls up, screw you, nigger. I can deal with that. There's no hiding. It's up front in your face, and that's the reality of the place that I live. There's still a lot of those people walking around, and they look stupid in a lot of settings. But they're obvious, and so it's easy to deal with. But in a lot of more corporate setting, that person that despises you but knows that it's better for them not to show their hand, because then they might be able to find an opportunity to screw you over when you're not paying attention, when you're not staying on your P's and Q's and things of that nature.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's that subtle behavior, it's that calculating behavior. And so again, like I said, it's more in that, for me, in that professional setting where I've experienced it and have had I would say, shut it down. I'm paying close attention and you have revealed yourself, so beat it. Had to have those kind of things. But yeah, it's that subtle behavior versus that clear enemy, that clear, even, and that happens in the professional setting as well. And so then, hey, now I know it, so we don't have to deal unless we actually are required to in some situations. But yeah.
Now, have you all ever had a gut feeling that about a person sort of acting as a frenemy, but kind of ignored it, or like proceeded to like let them be in your circle, if you will?
I think more for me, it's probably been more on the professional side as well. And I think about interactions with colleagues at a medical function or something of that nature, and it becomes that level of how are they addressing me? How are they respecting who I am
Mhm.
versus a colleague of mine and how they show respect or address them. So they might be like, "Hey, John, how's everything? This, that, and the other." And then they'll be like, "Hey, Dr. So-and-so, it's great to see you. How you doing?" And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, you have that closeness with me that it was John, even though we don't have that kind of relationship as well, type deal. But the respect was shown of my colleague who's a doctor, but doctor as well, and
Right.
didn't find the need to address, say hello in that manner to me. Not that that's something that I'm looking for, because most people, I don't even show up and say, "Hey, I'm Dr. John Card" or anything. I'm just John Card and keep it
Mhm.
moving. But for those that know, I may have to usually say, "Oh, no, you don't have to call me Dr. So-and-so here. Just call me John," or something like that. And you guys, I've been with you guys. When we out hanging, meeting, or whatever, it's John, and that's
Right.
just what it is. I think in those instances, that's where you kind of get that. Okay, I could see kind of how this evening's gonna kind of play out a little bit, but that's fine. Folks are trying to either figure you out or get where you are, or trying to figure out, are you trying to get where they are
Yeah.
at times, and that's why sometimes they have to be, quote, respectful in some sense, but not necessarily respecting you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Interesting.
I was trying to think about this in like in more of the friendly network. I'm trying to, I can't really, at
Mhm.
least right now, pinpoint a moment where I've felt that. It's usually just you're meeting somebody cool, but not someone I would say I continuously kind of show up with.
Mhm.
And then I'm starting to feel like, okay, why is there some competition, or why is there some
Right.
hatred here going on? I have to say, at least right now, I can't say that I felt that as of yet, and hopefully I don't ever feel that.
Right.
But I can't pinpoint something right now for that.
Yeah. How about you, Rich?
I've had gut feelings about individuals in a work setting as well. The second part of your question was about, did you let them, what'd you do, or did you let them hang out in your circle?
Right.
And I was trying to think if I ever have. And that answer is no. I think I've done a pretty good job of identifying them pretty early on, and definitely had gut feelings about some individuals. And I pretty much shut it down as quickly as possible. So I've never let anybody just kind of hang around. And I think that's one of those things, well, at least the way it's been described to me, my wife said it a number of times. She said that I have multiple circles, or I have concentric circles. And it's hard for
Yep.
people to get into some of the inner circles. There are different requirements. There's different levels of trust.
Mhm.
And for me, trust is a word that it's born out of experience. So it has nothing to do with my affinity for you. I can trust you to behave in certain ways because of our shared
The
experiences.
nature of our.
Yeah. Aside from that, there could be no trust. I think a lot of people use that word wrong, and I think a lot of people hand it out improperly. Because they
Oh.
like someone.
Yeah.
That's really the wrong reason to do so. You don't trust somebody because you like them. Well, half the time that's chemical,
Right.
biological. It's not.
Right.
I don't think I've let them into those, and I think there have been definitely gut feelings about people, and others it took time to come to that conclusion. That again, that's that level of skill or of subtlety. And sometimes it's really about what that objective is for that individual. And I think sometimes you've got people who aren't intentional frenemies.
Right.
Those
That's a good point.
those are sometimes a little harder to identify, because they might truly not have
Bad intention.
bad intentions, but they just aren't a good friend. There are too. I think that there are some people that really don't know how to be good friends, or some people are inherent users. And so we said here that real friends was safe and consistent.
Yeah.
I think there are people who might want to be real friends but don't truly understand it. And I think there are people who've never experienced what a true friend is. And so then too, they don't know how to accept a true friend because they don't understand true friend behavior.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about, we use that concept, we talk about iron sharpens iron, and part of being a true friend is being true and sharing truth, sharing honesty.
Yeah.
and those
Well,
kind
you know,
of
that's
things.
funny because even with real friends, sometimes that honesty, the thing, sharpening iron, by the way, is like, it's kind of a violent process, right?
Yeah. Say it could be painful.
So it doesn't always feel good. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right.
it sometimes feel like, well, mate, is
Right.
this mug a real friend, or is he,
Right.
you know,
Right.
is he a frenemy?
That's true.
And I think over time, right, like the metaphor, right, iron does sharpen iron over time, but it's not without some friction, right?
Right. It doesn't just sit there next to it and they both get shiny. Right.
Exactly. So it sounds like, I mean, through this conversation here, we've already kind of gotten into kind of we talked about that there were kind of three examples of frenemies. One of them being the competitive frenemy, which we mentioned was like with careers or things of that nature, and comparisons with status and what you have and what they think you have, and relationships. And actually, when I was thinking of the relationships, that's when it kind of hit me that, oh, now there was kind of a frenemy as related to that. And it's someone that we all know, but it happened a long time ago. So we'll leave it at that. But as well. But yes.
Yeah, after we hit stop on the recording, we might have to circle back, brother.
Right. Hey, it's a long time ago.
Over here peaking interest and whatnot. Dang, I wonder who that was. All right, somebody we all know. Man, that's hundreds of people.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, that's true too. That's true too.
I think, yeah, man,
But yes, interesting. But yeah,
it is interesting. I'm going to say something controversial. You're going to get into the other types, but I also think that can show up in romantic relationships as well.
Yeah.
And a person that almost roots for you. I won't say roots for your failure, but definitely doesn't applaud your success.
Right.
And yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. And again, it's stuff you learn as you get older and you have more experience. That not really something you sit around thinking about, but you learn to pick up the cues of that person. You could be on your highest of highs, and the person could be like, oh, whatever, or like trying to diminish what you've accomplished, or change the subject to them and something that they're doing, as opposed to sharing in something that you are enjoying.
Oh yeah, that was cool, but you know what I did?
Right.
That's all good, but
right. Now that's an interesting dynamic right there, because you're right. If you're in that relationship and that's how some of that conversations are going within it, that could change truly the whole dynamic of that relationship. Or are you staying in it for whatever that reason is and blindly accepting what's happening in that space as well?
That's the question of, if you ask the 37-year-old version of me versus the current 57-year-old version of me, you might get different answers.
Yeah.
Because the 57-year-old version of me is going to be out. You know, I ain't got time for that mess. My peace is far more important. I think that's how those circles get a little tighter. But then again, too, if you are in that inner circle, then there's going to be a whole lot more lenience that I'm going to give for things that they might be transgressions if you're out here on these, but if you're in here, then you've earned something. I don't know, but if you get what I'm saying. But yeah, I think one of those interesting things you were saying about when you're talking about kind of with the romantic competitive can be interesting. And I think a lot of times when we were younger, that was probably a little more prevalent. Again, and I think it's to your point too, Greg, the time, right? The longer we're around, the better we are at spotting some of these things, but that's because of experience. And so as we talk about this more, and then as we start delving into some of these things, like we said, some examples in money, status, relationship envy. I was like, wow, I never even thought about that. But
envy.
But when you think about it like that, yeah, that might explain that. So the more we talk about it and we start reflecting, and as I read that article and started looking at this again today, I was like, wow, yeah, that smile in your face kind of different.
The
Said that
backstabbers.
just maybe go smile in your face
Right.
all the time, trying to take your place. The backstabber.
That's right.
Backstabber. Right. The two-faced frenemy.
Yep, the two-faced frenemy. That's funny. Now, it's like, so we got the sort of the one version, right? The competitive frenemy, always measuring, comparing, and so forth. Low-key rooting against you. That kind of cracked me up a little bit. So what are the other two?
The two-faced frenemy and manipulative frenemy.
I think I'm most familiar with the manipulative one.
Okay.
Yeah, subtle, the sort of subtle negativity. Yeah, like low key, like it's not very clear. And it's actually not particularly helpful either, because it's not criticism. It's not a critique for the sake of making things better, right? It's more of an attempt to sort of put you in a box kind of thing.
Are you sure that's how you want to approach that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What have you thought about it this way?
Yeah. And I also think that there are racial dynamics to that one that come through that I have sort of witnessed and I think experienced as well, where it really is, you're like really just don't like this person expressing themselves particularly as a black person, as a fully formed black person that doesn't fit sort of the box that you think all black people should be in, right?
That is true.
It's kind of a demarcation for me that because I work from home now, right? And so my interactions with my colleagues now are predominantly over Zoom or Microsoft Teams. The face-to-face interactions are far less often now. We come together for graduations, for certain other things, but the majority of the time I'm remote. And so it's a little different. The kinds of interactions, obviously, the nature of the interactions, obviously, the body language is decidedly different because it's not even a full body, right? In most cases, right? And someone can be off screen, just have a photo up, as opposed to you actually seeing and interacting with them in that context. So for me, the workplace stuff is quite different than it used to be. So,
do you think it does it make it more difficult with the scenario of these Zoom teams or these behind a window? Is it harder to detect your frenemies that way? And then I'm going to lead to another question that we can either touch on or let it drop. But for the COVID generation, where a lot of their time was spent behind the screen in what I'll consider a growth age for them, not having those face-to-face interactions and being able to really see or feel how somebody is showing up, is it going to be harder for them to maybe figure that out or understand that?
I'm going to go in reverse order because I find your second question far more interesting.
Well,
no, seriously.
Was that a frenemy right there, GK? I mean, okay.
Is that what a real friend would say?
Right.
Oh, that was excellent. No, but in seriousness, no. Your second question, I think it would be harder for them. I think it would be harder for them because, especially if you're talking about young people coming up while they're still developing or supposed to be developing their social skill, understanding the different social cues, the body language, all of those things, that they're missing a chunk of that because they are not interacting face to face. Again, you're talking heads. Especially if I shrink, if all I've got is my head, That's all you get. You don't get anybody like. But I think it would be harder for them. Yes, definitely. For me, having had decades of experience with that already, I think the difference now is, again, everything is flattened out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that meetings are different in general in this context.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general, it's versus sitting around a table. It's very different. I think our meetings in person, and I think that's why sometimes we do get together and need to get together. And it's interesting because I have some colleagues who think we don't ever need to get together face to face. We can be, we can do everything we ever need to do without ever getting together. And I see enough of you people just from this part up.
Right.
But others feel like that there is additional value. There is always value in team building and things of that nature when you're working in situations where you put in a lot of hours with people.
Yeah.
There could still be some benefit to that. But I've kind of drifted off here, so get me back in the right place.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think, especially in GK's profession, his interaction with people is key to building those relationships. And now I'm sure you have to really navigate between quote friends, frenemies, and enemies as well because of your world and your how you're trying to work politics, right? Which, maybe this is a generalization and not fair, but there are probably more frenemies in that scenario than there are friends in that scenario as well. And then you got different agendas that each one of you are trying to get there as well. And I hate to say it, but I think we got to bring it up too. Does that mean that there have been times where you might have seen yourself as a frenemy?
That's an interesting question. I guess if we're being honest, I think there are definitely times where I've needed to get things from people, perhaps not personally, but in service to a cause or the organization, and needed to engage in a way to make that more possible. And perhaps so I would say, I wouldn't call it that, but I guess it is a way, it in a way captures the very definition of frenemy. But I think the goal always, though, is to lead with humanity and decency and respect for people. But it's certainly true that there have been times that I've had to engage with people around the need to get something from them, as opposed to like really having a deep trusted relationship with. I mean, we have a saying, harmful? Right? Permanent interests, right? Do you have permanent friends, right? But the interests never change. So, and the interests sometimes there's sometimes conflict with people in that regard,
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's definitely accurate to say that there are probably moments where that has to show up in order to be able to accomplish certain goals and tasks, but not in a malicious way. Just a matter of, hey, we could smile in the face, but yes, I do need to still try to achieve something here as we get through it. And then we move
but is
on
what you're
from
trying
there.
to achieve necessarily harmful underneath? That's how we defined it. That's how we defined it, right? We said that it was friendly on the surface, but harmful underneath. And so were you necessarily harmful?
I see.
Yeah, not intentionally, that's for sure. But again, we aren't always aware of impact either, right? Right. Our intentions and impact aren't always the same thing. Actually, it's one of the things I appreciated that you said earlier, Rich, around intention. And like sometimes people aren't even aware of operating in that way as a frenemy.
Yeah.
Well, they may not even know another way. We talked about that as well. That is their nature because that's all they knew and exposed to, depending on their environment and how they were brought up. That could be that cautiousness that they're going to always have unless they truly can, or you can get into their inner circle. You know what I mean? And it may take a long time for something like that to accomplish as well. Even in relationships, right? That could be the case as well, depending on how much the enjoyment of each other is. But it may take a while before you layer down and be like, oh, okay, I can rely on this person. I know this person is here to uplift me and be on my side versus, oh, they just trying to get something from me.
Well, that's actually I think that's a nice segue into making that contrast between a frenemy versus an actual friend. Like, what's a real friend look like as opposed to a frenemy? So I think you look at this in, companionship, help, reliability, intimacy, validation, emotional security. Those are some of the things that I think we can agree on, right? On what makes a person a real friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which of those matter most to y'all, right? To, have those things evolve from when you were younger to where you are today.
Yeah, I would say so. I think in the beginning, companionship was probably the biggest component. And that was probably born out of shared interests, right?
Yeah. And proximity.
Right, proximity and liking to do some of the same stuff, shared interests kind of thing. But over time, those other pieces developed more as we learned more about each other, spent more time around each other. It did like that whole trust thing that I talked about. That's born out of shared experience, all of that. That's getting baked into there. I don't know
So
if
do
there's...
you think
Go ahead.
that with what we've outlined just there as it relates to real friendship, do you think you can have 3 or 4 out of those 6 and still have a real friendship? Or is there a true intertwining of all 6
Okay, I
that
see what you're
makes
saying.
it a real friendship? Right.
I think that might have something to do with those circles.
Yeah, that you mentioned. Yeah.
I think you got six dimensions listed here, and the people in my inner circle, that group closest to me, which would necessarily include the two of you, all 6 of those are there. But for some people that are in some of these other further out circles might have some of these. And to your earlier question, I don't know if it was John or Greg, but which is most important, or which of these 6 are most important to you. So there might be a ranking of those on some level, right? Whichever ones are most important. If for that next circle, it might not be all 6, but it might be all of the most important ones.
Right.
Plus one more, or who knows? But you know what I'm saying? Some sort of ranking on some subconscious level, right? That we kind of play out.
Yeah, I also think these things, I think that they rise and fall, I guess, if you will. So there may be a time when you need help that may not be as important another time, right? The companionship might be the number one thing at a particular period of time or whatever. So I think those, we go in and out of them, but I do think at different times, all of those things come into play at some point. You know what I mean? They may not be all at the same time, but at various
That
times.
supports my notion of that inner circle having all 6, though.
Yeah. Yep.
Because as your needs might shift, then you're still going to be able to go to that same group for any of that 6, right? Whereas these other ones, you might be trying to seek out a particular individual that's going to help you out in this way, give you validation, or this one that's always very reliable. You know, my inner group is any and all of those. So whatever I need at a particular moment, they're going to be able to deal with that. But yeah.
So question for y'all. Obviously, we've been friends for a long ass time, but I wonder what is the role of longevity in this question of real friends, right? Is it, are we real friends because we've known each other for 40 years, right?
Like, we've known other people for 40 years.
Right.
That you don't have that same thing with.
Right.
So it's beyond just time.
Right.
But time is a component of it. And I think time is a validator. Not it's not something by which we measure it. The longer it is, that means it's better or something like that. No, it's just one of the byproducts of it. Because we've got all of the other things, the time has gone on for this long.
As we get older, our circles typically do get smaller. And I don't think that's just because people are no longer with us. I just think you appreciate
discernment.
Right. More of especially those 6. And you like what you said earlier, Rich. Hey, I don't have time to deal with the rest of it. So you tend to have that with you. But I definitely feel I'm one that feels that people come in and out of our lives for whatever that reason is. And I think that some might be there, right, and they might be there for 20 years, but then they're no longer there anymore in that same capacity. Well, whatever that was there, needed, great, and fulfilling. But then something just changed in that. I think that just shifts. But
you
I
got the
think
gratitude from it. You're still grateful for it,
Right.
for what it was, for however long it was.
Right.
Because again, everything isn't always quantity. Sometimes it is just quality.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Exactly.
And quality of connection, and the connection can be on different levels, right? And it plays out in ways that it doesn't matter if it's for 2 years or if it's just for 6 months or if it's for 10 years. The quality of it's kind of an equation where it's the quality plus the quantity equals out to this over here.
Right.
And if the quantity goes up, that still might not make up it for the quality, but the quality might be incredible even though the quantity was small. So that's the cool thing about people. You can actually get that.
One of the, again, distinguishing characteristics between a frenemy and a real friend is this notion of accountability, right? When you are a frenemy, it's just criticism, I guess, right? When you are a friend, it's accountability. And I guess we should probably talk a little bit about what the difference is between real friends in that regard.
I'll throw out one word: utility. Usefulness, right? Just accountability is far more useful than just criticism. For me, criticism can work, right? If it's right, there is, we seek out positive criticism, right? Or when I say positive, it doesn't mean that it's that it feels good. It's productive, right? It can be productive. So criticism can work, but I just prefer that someone has a positive intention behind. So if I'm trying to hold you accountable, I'm expecting you do the same for me. So, right, there's again a mutual benefit that we're looking out for each other versus you sitting up here over here throwing stones at me.
Right. I think one of the critical elements to it too is trust, right? And if you're a real friend, I would assume that you trust that person and you trust their intentions. They're good. You assume good intentions. And I think that means you're probably more open to being held accountable, and you don't take it as just criticism and negativity. And so building trust is, to me, a really key part of being a real friend. If I don't, how can you be real friends with somebody you don't trust, right?
Right. I agree with you. And you both have brothers, blood. But I would always say that the friendship that I've had with you all, to me, is what I would have expected to be with a brother. You see, if I had a blood brother, but I also recognize that blood is different than who we choose.
Yeah.
And blood is there by virtue of that's how we were born. But friends are those that we chose to be in life with. And to me, I think that's just a powerful way of going through it. And like you said, I know you guys hold me accountable, as I do with you as well, but I trust that what you said, Greg, was I trust that how you hold me accountable is to keep me uplifted.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's not to tear me down or break me down because I may have achieved, quote, a certain level of whatever. It's let me keep pushing you into that. And then by virtue, not even looking for it, I'm already pulling you up this way along with me as well. And that can be in any scenario of life, business, relationships, taking care of our kids. How many times we talk through, dag, man, how you dealing with this situation and this and that and everything, and not ever feeling like, well, dag, maybe I'm the only one having to deal with this. I don't want y'all to know I'm dealing with this. Nah, I want y'all to know I'm dealing with this because I trust you to just give me something to help go with that as well and how to move through it. So yeah, I'm with you, Greg, that you got to have the trust. We innately have the accountability with it. But to have that is something that we chose to have.
Yeah.
And I think that just makes it just a different type of bond, and as it relates to that as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was watching something on the news earlier today, and it was talking about the Brits, the royal family, and how, I don't know what the princes' names are. I'm forgetting. One of them's married to Meghan, and then there's the other one married to Kate or something. What are their names? But they don't speak to each other. And the one that's going to become the king is probably going to, once he becomes king, is probably going to strip his brother of his just like this one stripped his brother.
Right.
But he stripped his brother because of the Epstein stuff, right? He was getting his freaky on the island quite a bit. And so they gonna clean up the royal family. But this one that's gonna become king next is gonna probably axe dude and make it. So to your point of blood and choice, right? Oftentimes family members make choices too, either towards or away. So that friendship choice, right, is for how that, especially when you're talking decades and decades, that's a choice, right? It's a choice. I'm choosing to stay here. I'm choosing to do this. I'm choosing to hold you accountable and to accept your accountability of me. It remains an active choice. Because like you said, some people, it's just for a season or it's just for a reason, as they say, and it doesn't last forever. And again, that's a choice because real friendships require maintenance, just like anything else, right? And we always have said I can go a long time without seeing you, but we get right back together like it was before. But that's the result of the maintenance that's been done along the way in whatever shape or form that needs to be for that friendship.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
Well, I think Black men need to do more of that. And I think if I could go back and do things 20, 30, 40 years ago, I think I would make us challenge each other more in that regard in terms of accountability and be more open to it. Because I think one of the ways I think I stayed out of trouble, if you will, in life was because there was some accountability with my boys. I'm fine. I used to say all the time that you could have the best parents in the world, but one of the skills your parents need to really be focusing on with you is how you pick your friends and who your friends are, because they're the ones who impact you in ways that your parents just simply can't, even if they're the best of parents. And so the idea of accountability to me amongst friends and particularly amongst Black men, to me is just critically important. And I don't know that we spend enough time talking about it and doing that for each other.
Greg, we've always talked about how we used to say, Greg and I jokingly would say, you know how people would have those bands that would say, what would Jesus do? Greg and I would always say that it was, what would John do?
What would John do?
It was really more like, what would John say? If I did X, Y, and Z, what would John say?
Moral code was always clear. His moral compass was always pointed in the right direction.
It wasn't even in the same state. Right? When we were in college.
Yeah, ours was a little bit funky at times.
It was about fear of disappointing John. And he's the youngest one.
Right.
All true.
That's
all
it.
true.
That's
what would John do? Because I know what I would do.
Oh, man.
And they are not the same things.
Right.
Right.
Or I should say, I know what I did.
Now I'm going to go explain it to John.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
And I guess that's also another thing. And friends, do friends judge, right? Like, do real friends judge? Is that a thing, right? Or what's the line between judging and accepting for a real friend, right?
Real friends accept and while holding you accountable.
Right.
Without judgment.
Right.
That reminds me of that old.
I accept your dumb ass for this stupid shit you just did.
Right. Now try not to do it again.
Now let me tell you what exactly. Now don't do that again.
Right.
No, that was some dumb shit you did.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
And people have to learn how to accept it. That's hard to hear that from people.
Yeah.
But that's what accountability to me looks like. And I think starting at younger ages, we should be training people on that, younger people on that.
I agree, Greg. I think you hit it on when, especially black men, how much we talk about the need to build better friendships and relationships there as well. We're both in fraternities. Rich, you're in a legal fraternity as well, but in the fraternities, you're sometimes forced into a connection, not necessarily chosen that connection, and then have to build upon that trust and strength and accountability through that as well. But within their organizations, there then becomes, unfortunately, cliques. There become where, again, you're not connecting with this or your pro fights or whatever because of what happened or how it happened or this, that, and the other. But yet we all espound to the same principles and values as it relates to our fraternities as well. But we got to figure out a way to build a better system that allows black men to feel comfortable with each other. From a health standpoint, I'm having conversations with men all the time about being willing to share your stories. You know, prostate cancer being huge as it relates to us, and how difficult it is for us to share our stories with people because, again, whatever that concern that there is as it relates to, well, I don't know if I want them to notice about me or how they gonna think about me. Are they gonna judge me in some way or look at me more that differently or whatever? But then how many times is it where the person right next to you was going through a similar situation that you going through, and you guys known each other for years and didn't even realize that y'all both were going through something that could have been shared together if we just realize, hey, I'm not in competition with you for this at this moment. And how can we help build through that process? And that's building friendship. So I think as black men, I wonder, are we truly limited in how we make friends? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because of that challenge, one of those challenges is this vulnerability piece. Right. We're not allowed to, we're not supposed to ever appear vulnerable. And these things that you're talking about.
Supposed to be bulletproof all the time.
Right. And
no
so
emotion.
You're talking about letting down the shield. You're talking about lowering the shields, taking off the armor, doing all of these things and inviting opportunity for someone to take advantage of that or use that, or at least that might be some of the fears.
Well, I feel incredibly blessed to have experienced real friendship, right? Like that is my, at this age, it is something that you can't buy. It is hard to even put your finger on it sometimes, but it's
I don't know. How much money you got? Somebody out there listening, you got enough scratch.
Friends, right?
You can become a really good friend.
But maybe not real.
Roll you right on into that second circle at least. You might not make it to the inner circle.
Right?
But if you got your scratch is deep enough, we can put you in that second circle. So we can all kick it on your yacht or something.
But I think what I'm getting at though is I don't know that it's a universally, everybody ain't lucky to have real friends. And so I think one of the goals of this conversation for us was to have people think about what they can do to have and be a real friend. Because I think in this moment, in this time, in this country, that the need for real friends is greater than ever. And so what are some of the things that you might offer to others who may not have, like we have each other, right? And other friends. We may not have those concentric circles, Rich. What advice might we want to give them to help them build that out for themselves?
I'll jump in and say, is be a real friend.
Bingo.
The best way to have real friends is to be a real friend. So that you can cultivate and grow the friendships that you have or are trying to have. And I think, but again, there's that challenge of not just that, but still, again, using good judgment and making good choices, right? But it's really important to be that, because a lot of times you can ruin a friendship. You can turn off someone who would be a real friend by your behavior.
True.
Be that real friend, be that true friend, and hopefully others will reciprocate.
Yeah.
But
Great.
at this point, because even at our age, there's still opportunities to meet new people and gain new friends. Right. And every new friend that you make, you should still be going about it trying to be a real friend. That doesn't mean that every new person that you meet is going to become one of your best friends in the world.
Right.
Because, I mean, again, we got 40 years in this, so there's not a whole lot of spots available, right? There's not going to be anybody else that gets 40 years with us, probably, right? I mean, that's just a practical reality, unfortunately. Well, medical technology is getting better. Who knows? I mean, I've got some friends that have been around for 25 years. They might get we might get another 15 years. Hey, that's possible.
That's right.
Right? Yep. The 40 club could grow, but then, y'all be at the 55 club with us, right? Which would be incredibly dope. Exactly. But I think being a true friend, that thing we were talking about, vulnerability, that's real. And the other piece was the consistency thing. It's not, again, it's the quantity and the quality. And so those six dimensions that you mentioned, those go into being that real friend. I think that's how you do it, is model the behavior that you want, right?
There you go. Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. I think that's the whole treat people how you want to be treated type of thing. It's something you should try to do in relationships in general, right? And so, something like that.
And in time, I think the vulnerability has to be a part of it, because for a real friend, that I think they know that side of you as well. Yeah. It's not always the image you're trying to project. They can sit you down and know who you also are as well, and be good with that. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, that's just who you are. And I'm good with it. I get it. I understand it. And I don't have a problem with it. I think if you have someone that you can feel like you're a friend with because they're doing this, that, or the other and with you, but yet when something happens that changes their ability to be able to do this, that, or the other, now you can't see yourself hanging or doing, then that honestly was not a real friend at all at that point as well. So
no, I think you both nailed it. And the idea of, in order to have a friend, you got to start with being friendly, right? And I just think that is very important. And again, the longevity is one piece. It's not a requirement, but it can be helpful. We've talked a little bit about, in one of our prior episodes, about loneliness, the loneliness epidemic, and there's a lot of attention being paid to it. I've seen lately, but I just think that people have a need to be with people that they trust and like and feel supported by. And I just think it's critical that we model the thing that we say we want. And I think it's more likely to happen that way. And it's often in the most unlikeliest of places with the most unlikely of people. So be open to the possibility of building relationships and friendships with people you might not normally do it with.
Right. And for all the cats out there that feel like they got to be extra hard all the time and not show any emotions, you can do all of this without being mushy.
Right.
Well,
all of those dimensions can happen while you still putting up your front like you hard. But what's going to happen is those real friends going to be able to see through that mess anyway. So, but get there how you have to get there.
Yep. And as someone who's been blessed to have real friend, it truly is, I can't imagine life without you guys. And so as we sort of transition out of this conversation, I really appreciate you guys. Say it publicly. Love my brothers. And thanks for being real friends. We drink
I love y'all. We say that. We know it. We feel it. We do it. The friendship that we've had, that we continue to have, is something I think others probably envy as well. But it doesn't mean that they can't have that same type of relationship as well. I am blessed by y'all. I am thankful for y'all. And I give thanks every day for you guys too. It's nothing like having a friend, man. And to feel it, to know it, it almost gives you strength that you may not have even thought you had. You know what I mean? So I love y'all. I love y'all.
Love you, brothers.
Y'all all right. No, I'm just tripping. I love y'all too.
Right there. Right.
See, that's right. Exactly. That's all y'all get. Yeah, all right.
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
Well, thanks to you all. And feel free to weigh in on this conversation. Would love to get you all's thoughts and feelings on this subject, and spread the word, spread the love, spread the friendship, and thank you all for checking in.
Appreciate
Peace.
you. Peace.
Take care, y'all. Peace.